Councilor Liberty LeBeau.
Here.
And Chairman Peckham.
Here. First item on the agenda is going to be citizens' input. We have attendees in the audience. Miss Gina Hutchins, is it? I'm sorry? Hutchins. If you'd like to come up for citizens' input.
We're together.
Oh, okay, yeah, then that's fine. Can you just state your name and address for the record?
Sure. Gina Hutchins, 84 Commonwealth Ave, Fall River.
Thank you. And you as well, ma'am?
Grace McDonald Nay, 73 Commonwealth Ave, Fall River, Mass.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Just here to request a safety meeting regarding Commonwealth Ave and Northeast Alternatives.
Okay.
For the past 2 years, it's been an ongoing issue regarding traffic safety as far as cars zooming up and down the street, 18-wheelers coming up and down the street, customers wandering down the streets. I actually had somebody parked in my driveway in their truck, sitting in their truck, just sitting there. I came home and he motioned me to go, and I said, I live there, and sorry.
Yeah.
Pulled out, went into the parking lot of Northeast Alternatives. I had another gentleman park across the street from my house, get out of his car, walk halfway up my yard, saw my son in the window, turned around and walked away. It's getting to a point where the safety of the children in my house, I'm sure that everybody else in that neighborhood, their children, it's just getting to a point there, it's not safe anymore.
Mm-hmm.
What used to be a nice, quiet cul-de-sac, nice neighborhood is now, you don't even want to drive down now. My family and friends don't want to come over. They don't want to deal with the traffic. They don't want to deal with the element. They don't want to deal with anything. I recently heard that there was a gun pulled in the parking lot by two women were having a fight, and the gun was pulled. The smell of skunk constantly or daily is just, it's overwhelming. You cannot open your windows. Your cars smell like skunk. Kids don't want to go outside to play in the backyard because all they do is smell skunk.
Yeah.
It's been an ongoing issue, and we haven't gotten anywhere. The city actually admitted that they messed up, but we haven't had any resolution in 2 years. So we're asking for some type of resolution.
No, absolutely.
Anything.
I can tell you, I did have a discussion with Council Vice President Liberty LeBeau and Madam Secretary. I did want to put you on the agenda. I just have a feeling that the issue is going to be lengthy, so I want to give you guys an entire meeting with nothing else on the agenda. I did give Madam Secretary a couple of dates to throw back and forth between myself, Council Liberty LeBeau, and Councilor Kadim to come up with a date where we're solely just hearing your issue. That way there's enough time, nothing's rushed, and we can hear all of your concerns. My question is, the gun being pulled, was that recent?
Yes.
It's
I actually-
happened more than,
Yeah.
that's the
Because
second time
that's the
we've heard
second
of it.
time I've heard
Yeah.
of an incident. I'll reach out to the police chief and see if there was, and get the calls. And I'll invite him to attend that meeting as well, so he can entertain any questions that you guys have.
I do know when we first moved into this neighborhood, we were lied to by the builder right from the start. We were told it was going to be all residential, and he got everybody in there to buy, and then all of a sudden changed it into commercial. I don't know how that happened, how he was able to do that, but right from the start, we were all lied to. We were never told about the pot shop going in there. It was just kind of, oh, it's there, deal with it.
The city council didn't know what happened with the pot shop, the former city council. We've been going through this for quite some time.
Yeah, so that was a past administration, okay.
Yeah. I actually have friends that work at South Coast Marketplace, and they can smell skunk all the way over there. So it's not just our neighborhood that is complaining about this. It just affects us more than it does anybody else. And to have to deal with this daily and working a full day driving home and then coming down to your street and you can't even get down your street. You have to sit in traffic for 10 minutes just to get down your street. Something needs to be done about all of it.
I
It should
agree.
never be put in a residential.
I agree that your concerns definitely need to be addressed. Again, that's why I want to give you an entire meeting where you're the only topic on the agenda.
Okay.
That way we can try to come up with a resolution. I know this has been a lingering issue. My first meeting, I think I brought up the details, and that was clarified because I drive by there often, and I do witness the traffic situation. So that could be something that we could speak on at greater length when you have a meeting to yourself. And all issues can be discussed instead of rushed, you know?
Okay. And I actually have 2.5 pages worth of complaints since they reopened in May, and this is just from May.
Okay.
I'm sure every neighbor in the neighborhood has their own complaints, but for 2.5 pages just from one person, it gives you an idea
No,
of
absolutely.
the daily annoyances that we go through. And I can give this to you if you'd like.
Yeah, if you just want to put it aside, well, Council Pereira will take it.
Additionally, we achieved, because we've been fighting this now for quite some time, we've been supposed to have a safety meeting of our own since August of last year. We have signs, going to the traffic meetings, and the police were very supportive. They came down, they did some extra, they're doing extra details down there and doing rounds. The number of accidents at the end of our street is horrendous. And I'm sure you can get all the numbers, but it's constant. Some weeks it happens 3, 4, 5 times.
Okay, and again, we will definitely discuss this at a greater length, and that way we can get all of your information and try to come up with a remedy to help you guys out.
And as much advance notice as we can possibly get, because we've got a petition, we've done all that stuff, we've done everything that we could possibly do. If you can give us as much advance notice as possible so we can get more neighbors to attend the meeting, we'd
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Once that meeting is scheduled, we'll take their information and reach out to them. We have it here. And maybe you can give us a list of other people that would come down, like to talk, or be in the audience for the meeting.
If we can email somebody, we can email Pam or whoever, and we'll just send you, if you want, just give me your email address.
Sure.
We'll make a list and get it over to you.
Okay, excellent. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Counselor Peck. I just wanted to say while they're here and while Mrs. Pereira is here, the neighbors have been sending me photos of, remember you put the no parking signs along the white fence? So box trucks and 18-wheelers are continually parking there that are making deliveries to Northeast, even with the no parking signs there. Not sure if we can, I think it should be on Northeast to tell their distributors not to park there. The signs are clearly there, but if we could maybe have a traffic detail or the police go in and start telling them to move it. They've been great about sending photos. It's at all different times. Thank you. I yield.
Okay, I think that's something maybe that we can discuss with the chief to maybe go by there every once in a while. And I know you do a great job with with these issues, and make sure that is taken care of, that the no parking signs are being abided by, and we can go from there.
Truck
And-
signs.
okay. Oh, yeah, the no truck signs.
Yeah, but they're not.
Was that it for attendees?
Yes, Rob is signed up, but then we have one communication that came in via email.
Okay.
This is from Colin Dias, 560 Ray Street, Fall River, Mass. Good afternoon, members of the Public Safety Committee. I would like to speak on a matter where I have been hearing and receiving many complaints in the community. I stand with the residents surrounding Northeast Alternatives. The residents surrounding the dispensary are upset. They are displeased with the lack of action taken by this council to address traffic, odor, public safety issues caused by commotion at Northeast Alternatives. We hear councilors say they need to be balanced between business and resident concerns. Let me be crystal clear with the residents of our city. If I am elected to the city council in November of 2021, there will be no balance.
The concerns I've heard from residents, which are in regards to traffic accidents in people's driveways, constant traffic surrounding the cul-de-sac, the streets that are not meant for large traffic, and of course, the odor concerns. This is unacceptable. To the residents surrounding the dispensary, let me tell you, if I am elected to the council, there will be no balance and delay and constant politics. There will be action. I am not afraid of the money and power Northeast Alternative has in this city, and I am not afraid to take on large corporations in this city to improve the quality of life of our residents. I promise if this issue is not resolved and I am on the council, you will see swift action. We need to crack down on traffic violations committed by customers of Northeast Alternatives. We need more traffic detail. The city council needs to rein in more authority over the community host agreements, and we need to hold Northeast Alternative's feet to the fire and modify the agreements to have Northeast Alternative pay for the details. We also need to look into resident and visitor parking only for the side streets surrounding Northeast Alternatives. If there are any noise and smell violations, we need to find the daylights out of them. Thank you very much for your time. Respectfully submitted, Colin Dias.
Okay, in response to that, I'll just refer to what the discussion that we just had. They go hand in hand, so it will be addressed. Anything further? Citizens input?
No, that's it.
Okay, on to item number 2, which is minutes from July 15, 2019 meeting of the Public Safety. Is there a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
With that being said, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No? Next on the agenda, item number 3, a resolution, discuss safety concerns at 28 Quikasham Street, adopted February 11th, 2020. I'll read the resolution, which was filed by Councilor Lee. Whereas a Fall River resident presented the attached letter to the Fall River City Council with multiple public safety concerns and ordinance violations regarding her property located at 28 Quikasham Street, now therefore be it resolved that the property owner, all involved parties, and city departments be invited to a future meeting of the City Council Committee on Public Safety to address their concerns. And this was adopted February 11th, 2020. I've been by this property several times. I did ask Mr. Hathaway and the Chief of Police to come down, as well as Ms. Castellano, who is the owner of the property, to have a discussion on this issue and hopefully find a remedy for this as well, or come up with a way to please all parties involved. Ms. Castellano, I don't know if you want to come down and give us your input as to what's going on. Your name and address for the record?
Santita Castellano, 28 Quikasham Street, here in Fall River.
Okay.
Dear sirs and madams, thank you for allowing me the time to address the Public Safety Committee today regarding the issues that I raised with the Fall River City Council on January 20th, 2020. My name is Santita Castellano, and I am the owner and resident here in the city of 28 Quikasham Street. My family and I purchased this property in December of 2017. Since the purchase of our property, we have dealt specifically with issues of loud music from vehicles, parking obstructions on the property, several issues of property damage, illegal drug use and dealing, litter, illegal dumping, disposal of trash, snow removal, unleashed dogs, failure to pick up dog feces, and more recently, the issues of theft in the area and specifically between the houses that I have addressed, 16, 18, 30, and 20. I wrote to the council to seek assistance to help bring some resolve to many issues that I have and are causing my family and I constant pain and suffering. As I have stated in my original correspondence, I have attempted to speak with my neighbors, their guests, and the owners of 16, 18, 20, and 30 Quikasham Street about many of the items above that I had spoke of and have been unsuccessful. I have contacted several city offices to which I have either been unsuccessful or the same behavior prevails. When COVID-19 struck and much of the country went virtual, I found much of this behavior is not simply isolated to the 4 houses in which I speak. It is the area. After 5 p.m., it is as if there's a block party every day, just about every day. I have asked other neighbors who live closer to where this music is coming from if they've spoken to the people who are making the noise, and they told me they don't want any trouble. And these are residents who have lived there 30, 40 years, reared their children, are raising another generation, and have to deal with this and feel that they're not empowered in their neighborhood, which makes me sad as a new homeowner. So they just bear the behavior and many disturbances. Often, I am awakened at 1 and 2 in the morning by a vehicle driving by on 2 streets over, blaring their music. I've also encountered issues with unsupervised young people who thought that the offset of our area, the driveway, was going to be their hangout spot and threatened me that they were gang members or gang affiliated, and this is their neighborhood. As a resident who had attempted to make positive contributions to my community, I don't feel safe, which has often left me with feelings of isolation, and my quality of life has decreased. I am only seeking to find resolutions to the issues that I have addressed and those that may not be on this list but are known issues for my area. I am here because I am not the only one suffering. I am here because these behaviors simply cannot go on. In a March 10th of this year City Council meeting, the council was updated on the commuter rail project and the makings of a desirable neighborhood. The answer was the neighborhood where there is appreciation and value will get people who want to live in these neighborhoods. I don't think that we should let these bad behaviors continue to define our neighborhood. There are simply too many people who work very hard building these neighborhoods, whether they immigrated from Portugal and have reared their families here, and that's how these houses got built in the first place, or they have come from different areas of Massachusetts and found their homes here like myself. They cannot win. There needs to be some resolve.
With that being said, I want to commend you, because I've been to your house a couple of times, and your piece of property and what you have done with it in such a small, confined area is absolutely amazing. I just want to let you know. I've spoken to it about that to friends of mine, how well manicured and how well kept your property is. The backyard to me was amazing. And I didn't mean to interrupt. Is there anything else that?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Your concerns are definitely valid. I just have a couple of questions. One was, I had read a letter that you had submitted, and in the letter it said that the other 4 properties had written into their deeds the availability of egress to their properties
Yes.
using your property line.
Yes.
And then, while I'm looking at the information on your property, it says it's a private roadway. So I have questions on that, and that's why I'd asked Mr. Hathaway to come down. And if you don't mind, I'll have him try to maybe explain how that works, because I'm confused on it as well. You can have a seat.
Glenn Hathaway, Inspector of Buildings, City of Fall River. In regards to this situation, which I'm not familiar with, and I didn't get a chance or the opportunity, I didn't know about an easement problem. So it sounds to me like there's 3 or 4 houses that have an easement along with this young lady. And the easement is maintained by whoever has the right of way through that easement to their properties. Nobody can block it, nobody can build anything in it, they all have to respect and keep the easement open because it's access for whatever the properties are. Had I known or been made aware that there was an easement problem, I would have looked into it a little bit more and been prepared for the other 4 or 3 houses adjoining this. But it sounds like, the right-of-way, it's not a public street, it's a private road, and they have to maintain it and shovel it and do all the maintenance on it themselves. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I just actually came across yesterday in the letter, and I apologize, I had read the letter, but I didn't catch it, that there was the easement written into the deeds of the other 4 properties. If I would have known sooner, I would have reached out to you, and I apologize for that. It's just a little confusing to me, so I'm glad that you were able to explain it. Now, for clarification, a vehicle parks in Ms. Castellano's driveway, it's a civil issue, correct? Because it's a private road.
Yes.
So we can't call the police to tow from private property?
No.
Okay, so that's one
That would
half of
be,
this issue.
that would be a specific question to ask the police chief. He is here in relation to that because it is on private property. Is it posted? Is the property posted with a sign stating that if there's a vehicle in the way, blocking the right-of-way, that they have the right to call and have it towed?
I believe I took pictures. I don't know if you have a copy?
No, all I have is an email from folks.
I have an
who
extra
couldn't make it
copy.
today.
I have an extra, there's 2 on my desk.
Glenn,
Oh,
that's
that
what I
copy.
just gave you.
Okay. Yeah, I have this one.
So,
I don't see any posting here. I see some signs on somebody's fence, but I don't see a specific posting, do not block
that,
private property.
I'm sorry, if I may. When this first became an issue, I did contact a tow company, and the tow company advised me to put a sign out at the beginning of the driveway. So there has been a sign out there at the beginning of the driveway.
okay, I know.
And there are signs posted along the driveway. As I continue to call, everybody's continued to tell me, well, put a sign here, put a sign there. So there's a bunch of signs saying that there is no parking. And I have spoken to, these are my neighbors. So if there has been an issue, I go to my neighbor and say, hey, this isn't right, or what have you. So I've spoken to the individuals. Again, I've spoken to all of the owners of the property, and it just continues to be, and that had continued to be an issue, even though there were postings. I did receive a stack of papers from one of the officers who work in my area to have the cars towed rather than call the police, although I still was told I could still have that as an option. And I did that, and it was kind of a waste of time, unfortunately. The tow truck driver came there to tow the car. The people were upset that their car was being towed, but these are some people who already know. I've spoken to them several times, and their car was parked out in the driveway. I just did as I was instructed to do, and the tow truck driver called an officer. An officer came and said, just move your car. So that's what they did, and it kind of was like, again, hands tied. What is going to be the consensus of how we're dealing with things? If there is a record of continuous calls for this particular issue, and it's the same people, how are we going to get these things resolved? The one neighbor who was parking his car out in the driveway, I couldn't even get out. I have to do so many 3-point turns just to get in my own garage, which was directly across, and I had sent a certified letter after trying to speak with them and saying, hey, this is an issue. You're blocking the driveway. I can't even get into my garage without having to do tricks. They ignored it. They ignored the certified letter. So the only thing that I had to do, as in my own defense, was to call the police. Officer Williams came, notified them, look, you cannot be, your property line is here. This is supposed to be for everybody to get back and forth. These people can't even get into their garage. He gave them a warning and left. I had to call again because the same thing happened the very next day. Officer Hoare came and gave them a ticket because they had already been called about this same issue. It was not until those residents got that ticket did they stop the behavior.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
could I just request that the police chief come down too?
Absolutely.
I just feel like this is, we've got a lot of quality of life issues that come into play. We've got a nuisance ordinance that should be rectifying some of these issues that this woman is dealing with, and obviously the individuals that came before us for citizen input as well. It's an ordinance that's been put in place since roughly 2012, 2013. Unfortunately, the ordinance is only as strong as the enforcement, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel for the individuals that are before us to hear them have to, take action for themselves and constantly call the police department and city departments to try to address some issues that are clearly affecting their quality of life and living in the city is concerning to me, right? So I really want to see what's working, what needs to be rectified. Again, we are the legislative body. We've got no control or authority to make any day-to-day operational changes or recommendations, but we can make amendments to a nuisance ordinance if it's not, strong enough for the police department or minimum housing or any other department for that matter. So I'd like to have the police chief come down and just see if we can have some real conversations with regards to what's working, what's not working. The other concern too is with the nuisance ordinance, Ms. Castellano, every single day is got to call the police department, right? So that also puts some stress on our resources, right? So I think some of that needs to be discussed as well. And if there is a complaint that's filed, there should be follow-up so that there's not a constant call going into dispatch to have that dispatched. And we already know what the dispatch calls look like, right? There are a list of severe calls that come in, and while Ms. Castellano's concerns may not rise to the level of the severe calls that are coming in, there's still calls that need to be addressed. So I think I want to make sure that we're addressing those. And if it's, again, as I mentioned, if it's not working, what is it that we need to change?
I agree wholeheartedly. The issue we have here is half of our problems seem to be civil, and half of our problems seem to be where the police department needs to be involved.
No, and I recognize that, but
I'm just trying to
the civil,
clarify.
I appreciate that, and I see the difference. But the city council has put together a nuisance ordinance back in 2011, 12, and I forget the exact date it was, but it's there for a reason, right? So, I think we need to make sure, and it was essentially to target absentee landlords, right? So if we've got individuals who own these properties and they're absentee landlords, we need to get them to the table. There was the AG's program for the building blocks that we initiated to get them to the table to try to rectify some of the violations. There was a task force that was sent out to look at the violations, and I know I've seen the letter that was submitted by Mr. Fiore with regards to him going out with another individual, and there were no violations there. But did the health department go out? Did the police department go out? And then we've also got the concerns with, obviously, the individuals that are loitering on the corner claiming to be gangs, right? So what are we doing to address that, and what other resources do we need to throw towards not only this issue, but every other issue that's coming before the city council or for this committee in particular, public safety?
Agreed. I think that's actually a perfect question for you to answer, Chief. What do you recommend we do as far as the city ordinance on the nuisance ordinance and trying to rectify Ms. Castellano's issues? They are ongoing. It's been going on for, I believe, I had a date in here of 2017 or 18?
17.
17 to the past administration.
That's what she said in her letter. Excuse me. First of all, let me just express to Mrs. Castellano, I was not aware that you were trying to reach me, and we talked earlier, and we're going to sit down and talk about this. I did a little research today, and since January 1st, I spoke with some of the officers that are working in that area, specifically Rick Saraiva, John Ruggiero. Everyone's well aware of it. There are reports that are read off at roll call about the ongoing issues, not only specifically in and around her driveway, but also related to Connecticut Street, the corner, and Bishop Eat Apartments as well. I could tell you there's quite a few what we call FIs, field interview reports. There have been 31 arrests since January 1st in that particular area. So it's not something that the personnel are not aware of. They're very aware of it, and I think they're doing what they can. I'm going to meet with her, and I'm going to try to come up with some additional things that maybe we can do, maybe some targeted patrols, step up the patrols a little bit in the area. As you stated, Counselor, that, you know, I can't tow cars off the property. However, we will supply her with tow forms and certainly help her in any way we can with that, but we can't tow off private property. The cars that, if there are cars that are blocking her driveway or anyone else's driveway and they're parking on a public way, then we'll certainly tow those cars, tag them and tow them. But there are issues up there. I don't deny that. And it's something that the guys are well aware of, and they're trying to make a difference up there.
I appreciate that, Chief, thank you.
Can I?
I know
Sorry.
Council Vice President,
Apologize.
Liberty LeBeau had her hand up.
Thank you. Chief, are you saying if somebody parked in my driveway that didn't live there or didn't belong there, just parked their car there, I couldn't call the police to have it removed? I would just have to deal with it?
It's well, this is not, I don't see this as necessarily a driveway where the public has access. I think we talked about that earlier. That's you know, a right-of-way, if you will. It's considered a private way. People call all the time for cars that block driveways. On occasion, we get calls about people that are in the driveway, and what we do is, it doesn't happen very often. What the officer will do is reach out, run the plate, find out who it is, try to make contact, send another officer by the house. So, that, yeah, you can call. The issue comes with towing a vehicle off private property. It's not something that we normally do.
So if she has, I'm looking at the houses here, if she has no parking signs, which I see one or two of them, and they park there, so an easement, to answer your question, is just for them to access their property. They're not, it's her property, but they're allowed to drive over it to get to theirs, and then I'm guessing once they get to theirs, they have their own parking spaces. It doesn't mean that they can hang out in her driveway or park there. That's not the purpose of the easement. When I looked up the owners of the buildings, so 16 and 18 both give the house address as the owner's address. However, I'm guessing that we might have a different address for them. It's just not on the property card. The owner of number 20 is a local realtor, so we should be able to reach him, no problem. An owner of 30 has an address in Mattapan. With all of the calls at all of the different addresses, has it triggered any nuisance property violations?
I'm sorry, are you asking me about other addresses?
No, I'm just, have any of these owners gotten nuisance property violations with calls?
The only thing that I researched today, Counselor, was the calls for service at 28 Quikasham. I have not researched the calls for the buildings next door.
And, you know, I just realized, I was thinking, well, there hasn't been any calls since January, but this report that we have in front of us tonight was printed in February.
I have the numbers. I could tell you that for 28 Quikasham, there were 2 calls in 17, 7 calls in 18, 11 calls in 19, and 10 calls this year. And they vary from people parking in the driveway to an illness call to a loud radio.
How many for this year?
10,
11 for last year?
11 last year.
Okay. And that's Ms. Castellano's address, correct? Number 28?
28, yes. I did not look up any of the houses next door.
Okay. And then I just have a question for Mrs. Castellano. I know that you've talked to the tenants. Have you spoken to any of the owners
Yes, I have.
of which buildings?
I have spoken to all of the owners. I know who all of the owners are. I've even written to, as I explained, I've written to 16, I've written to 18, in regard, 16, I've written to them in regards to the vehicle sticking out. 18, I've written to him when we had the purple bags in regards to his tenants not properly disposing of their trash, not closing the bins, so the trash is just blowing all over everywhere. So I've spoken to all of them.
And no real response or action on their part?
They have spoken to their tenants, but again, the behaviors continue, and unfortunately, I have witnessed myself that the tenants can't control their company.
Okay. And the address is for 16 and 18. Did you have a local address or a?
16 the owner lives on the first floor.
Yeah.
18, the owner lives down the street.
Okay, so
On
3 out of
Quikasham
4 are
Street.
local. Okay. Thank you. I yield.
Councilor Kadim.
Thank you. So I just want to kind of get, I guess, back to the fundamentals. So we have a resident who's been complaining since 2017, and we're just looking at the issues now, right? Not to say that we haven't been addressing it, but that in itself is my concern. You know, one of my pet peeves is every time I get a complaint from a resident and I have to forward it over to my police chief, and it's a quality of life issue. I always tell my chief I don't want to have the same email sent a week later or a month later or 6 months later, right? I think it's incumbent upon us to take every complaint that we get seriously, truly identify what the root cause is, and address the root cause. So that's what I want to know. We've got an individual who is fed up, is coming here, and that takes a lot of courage for people to come to a city council meeting to speak up. Now, we can talk about all the other individuals who are going through the same exact problems, who, number one, don't know what resources they could utilize, how to correct the issue, not maybe afraid to call the police department, are not really getting any of this reported. So we're missing a lot here. So I want to know exactly what it is that we can do better as a city council to give you folks the resources that you need to ensure things like that, like this, do not continue to evolve in our city. I know it's a complicated, it's not going to happen overnight, but I need to know what's working, what's not working. So I'll start there.
I'm not sure if you want me to comment on that. Well, I will tell you this, Counselor. It's, as I said earlier, I got a stack of reports in front of me where we're well aware of it, and I'm not suggesting that we're solving it at this point. I was not aware of this until recently. Now that I am,
And my comments weren't directed towards you in general. I know you're brand new and you're dealing with a lot, trying to
I'm not
catch up
going
to speed on.
At the same time, I'm not
Yeah.
going. I'm not looking to use that as an excuse. I'm just letting you know that I have reports in here from lieutenants to patrol officers talking about the various issues that are going on up there, and I know that most of the SOD guys are up there as much as they can be. My suggestion to Ms. Castellano when we sit, and I'll talk about it right now, would be that I would suggest that maybe we hold some type of meeting with her neighbors, myself, some of my staff, maybe a Bishop Eid, is what I was thinking about, and see if we get everybody on the same page. It doesn't sound to me like her neighbors are necessarily on the same page with where she's at this point.
Yeah, and the other piece too, I think the missing piece, back in 2010 and 11, we had neighborhood groups that were very, very strong and active. Ms. LeBeau was one of the presidents there. You know, these are the issues that used to get brought to the table and have those conversations had on a monthly basis and reports that were given out. I guess, let me ask the question and that's a good recommendation to get Bishop Eid group involved and talk about the issues that are there and see how we can kind of address those. If the issue was happening to you, right, at your house, what would you want to see? What actions would you like to see get done? And what actions can we do, and what actions that you want to see get done you don't have the authority to do? And maybe we can start there.
Well, it's not just a police issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
No, I recognize that. So I'm
it's a
just
city-
trying to
it's-
get it. I'm trying to get it.
If you're asking me what I would want done for my house, I would want it to become important to every department, not just the police department. Quite frankly, I've said it before, I'll say it again, a lot is put on our plate to solve. It's not an excuse. We're still going to try to solve issues that may not fall into our wheelhouse, if you will. You know, Councilor Bo brought up people parking in the driveway. An officer's not going to drive away and just leave that car blocking the driveway. He or she's going to do everything they can to get that car out of there, to include helping fill out the tow form and staying by while the tow operator gets there. So I think it's an issue where I'm not sure if writing up the neighbors next door is the answer. I certainly would have to look at the calls for service there. I could tell you what the process that we have now is when something like this jumps out to officers in the Special Operations Division, they write it up, and then it goes to Faust Fiore. from that point, but they have not brought this to my attention.
So do you folks still meet as a task force, you know, building, health, minimum housing, police, fire, to really kind of evaluate these nuisance properties and see how to address them, what the issues are?
We haven't met on this particular item. I have been at this property a number of times.
But do you still meet, though?
No,
You don't?
no.
Okay.
If we have a problem where we need police presence, well, they are there on a regular basis for us. The problem here, Counselor, is the quality of the tenants in those houses. It's the bottom line. They don't care about anybody else but themselves.
No,
I've
the
been
real,
there.
I think the real issue is not the tenants, the real issue is the property owner, right?
Well,
And that's the issue that we've been
It's
fighting for a
both.
long time, right?
It's
So
both.
So if the property owner cares about their property, they're gonna ensure that the tenants that they put in their property are of quality caliber, right? So, not to say that you don't always get it right, and I understand it, and that's part of the reason that the whole building blocks, when we worked with the city council in 2010 and 11, we went to housing court. We created a partnership with the housing court to make sure that we had administrative warrants that would allow us into these houses, that would force the team, the task force in there to evaluate not just the complaints that are coming in, but address all the complaints. And I guess I'm a little concerned and disappointed that you folks are still not meeting. And that's not your fault. I mean, I think that comes through to the administration and comes from the
Building
sixth floor.
Blocks is being revitalized. We are gonna start that process, and it's underway right now. As far as the process of going into numerous houses, buildings with numerous complaints. At one time, a couple of years ago, I would say these houses and the surrounding houses fell under that, because I was there. I vacated some of these houses. The one on the corner of Canonicus and Quikasham has been vacated numerous times, resold, just because of me. The one adjacent to it, I think it's 28. They've been moved out by me several times.
Yeah.
They put the
I don't
same
want
quality
you
of
folks
people back
to
in.
take this as a personal attack. I'm talking about the leadership from an administration coming through and making sure that we have the resources that, you know, listen, the city council back in 2010 and the administration had the foresight to recognize that we had an issue, right? They put together a program that was working, right? And obviously administrations change.
Yep.
However, you know, programs that make sense and that work and have been proven to be effective, when you've built partnerships with the AG's office, when you built partnerships with the housing court, when you've built partnerships with, you know, the city council, you've built partnerships with CDA and local banks to, you know, offer different programs for, as UN mentions, turning over these nuisance properties into first-time home buyers. You know, those types of things need to continue to take place, and I'm just trying to figure out what it is that we need to do to get that started all over again.
Well, we're bringing it back. This mayor is bringing it back. Mayor Coogan has brought it back. It's underway for currently 4 houses right now, 2 that will be demolished. None that I'm aware of yet that is gonna be listed like these, okay, as nuisance properties, in this category of nuisance. This here is just, I've been over there. It's been a while, but I've been over there, and it's the tenants. And I'm sorry to say, we can go after the landlords. We've gone after the landlords. The tenants, they have a mind of their own, and so do their friends.
No, I recognize that, and that's
It's sad.
what we need to figure out. I think we all recognize that, but what we need to figure out is how do we address it, right? So, Mr. Chairman, I know we're getting tight on time. I would just make a recommendation that for the next public safety meeting, that we have the administration come down and talk about what the overall game plan is going to be to address these nuisance properties, you know, and businesses, right? Because I think we need to stop there as well, you know. And then in the meantime, because I don't, Miss Castellano came here, I don't want her to feel like this wasn't a productive meeting. For the folks at the table, what is it that she should be doing to help rectify her situation from the standards of the building department and the police department until we're able to meet with the administration and really kind of make a determination as to what the game plan is going to be moving forward?
Yeah, I wanted to keep calling, number one, she's not bothering us, and if there's some type of enforcement that we can take, we're gonna do that. Number two, as I stated, I'm gonna try to host a meeting, if you will, ask the property owners and other department heads to come to the meeting specifically to address this small group of issues that are going on at 28, 32, 16. And, I don't know how that's gonna go, but let's see if we get all the homeowners in attendance. Let's see if we can get everybody on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is Charlie. This is just a for Ms. Castellano's benefit. When she came to me in January and asked me to help her with this situation and get this meeting going, one of the things that she informed me on, and I did mention in that meeting when I requested it, was how she was treated when she was making those phone calls, Chief, and some of the comments that she was getting from people that were answering the phone.
Okay.
At the time. You weren't the chief at the time. I know. You know what I mean? So it might be a different story now, but
I hope so.
back then she was treated rather rudely.
Okay.
And I just wanted to, and you made that point, I just wanted to make that point as well, that might discourage her from making those phone calls.
Sure.
Or discourage, not maybe she's a very strong individual, but
Yep.
other people who may have problems may be discouraged if they're getting met that way.
Sure. So, what I'd like to suggest with that is I need to know. I know I wasn't the chief at that time, but I encourage people, and I know, Council Lee, you and I have had numerous conversations about this. I need people to let me know when we're doing something wrong. The only way I can fix it is by someone letting me know, and I promise you, if someone's done something wrong in my organization, they're gonna face some discipline. It's transparency. I have no qualms about instituting any type of discipline.
Thanks, Chief. Counsel.
No, just to that point, I recognize it, and this isn't an excuse. It comes back down to community policing. Unfortunately, our police officers are going from one call to another call to another call, and the severity of calls that they're dealing with. When they're overworked. Some of these calls coming in, maybe at the time like, oh, here we go. This is really low on the radar compared to everything else that I'm dealing with. It's really trying to not really. I don't think Mr. Lee is trying to chastise any of our officers, because it's not unique to the city of Fall River. It happens throughout the Commonwealth, right? We have police officers who are overworked, dealing with a number of calls. Call volumes are high. Granted, with COVID, they've been down a little bit, but typically, especially in Fall River, we have a very high call volume. That being said, I think it's to Mr. Lee's point. It's trying to get that community policing mindset back into the department, and understanding and just taking, because I do it too, right? I receive calls, I get emails, and I'm saying to myself, what is it, right? What am I missing? And you've got to take that 5-10 minute break to just try to put yourself in their shoes, figure out what it is that they're dealing with. Last thing I want to do is go home every single night after working, a crazy day, and have to deal with people hanging outside my house, people selling drugs, people blocking my easement, people walking their dogs, not picking up their feces, having neighbors who really have no inclination to work with me. Think about how stressful that is on a day-to-day basis, right? So we need to have some understanding of what it is, but more importantly, how do we effectively, and I know I'm repeating myself, but this is the important part, because we need to really address it. How do we effectively take on these challenges and make the changes, and the reason for the building blocks? We wanted to change the city block by block. It was a play on words. The building blocks, fundamental. It's a fundamental kid's toy, right? But also building the city block by block, and the broken windows theory. And I think we need to kind of get back to that and make sure that that's what we're doing. We're hearing it from a resident on the type of businesses that are being located in their backyards. In terms of the marijuana dispensary, we've been talking that for a good year and a half now, right? And with no outcome, right? The same complaints coming and coming, and now we're hearing the same complaints here. I just want to make sure, as one city council, and I know my colleagues feel the same way, that we truly put together something that will have a tangible effect on the community.
Just to your point, Counselor, for me, it's called selfless service. And the people that work for me, they know I've been preaching this. Every call is important. It doesn't matter what type of call it is, it's important. So I expect them to be professional and handle every call with patience and professionalism. So,
Appreciate that. I yield.
Thank you, Counselor. Is there a way, this building blocks program, to maybe get it off the ground by addressing this address
We'll look into
and
it.
this
Absolutely.
location?
I'll see if I can attend that meeting with the chief,
Okay,
and we'll look at it. We'll look at the neighborhood.
I appreciate that, and
Absolutely.
that may alleviate a lot of the issues that Ms. Castellano's having. Are there any recommendations from the other committee members?
My understanding, just so you're aware, my understanding is the times that minimum housing has contacted the neighbors, the property owners of the abutters, or the houses abutting this property, they've been very cooperative.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
I know I was there yesterday, the trash, it was cleaner than I have seen it in the past, because I have been there, I think, 3 times now.
We're there on a regular basis.
Okay, and I
Checking.
know, Mr. Fiore
Spouses.
reached out to me and told me that he had been there. With that said, I would like to see the building blocks program maybe tackle this issue first. And that way we can come up with a remedy to address Ms. Castellano's issues. Counsel, were you gonna say something?
No, when you said recommendations, my only recommendation was what I just stated, that,
Okay.
we have the administration come down and just talk about, his plan for a task force, whether it's building blocks or another program. I don't care what the title is. I just want to know how we plan on addressing it.
Okay. Is there a motion maybe? I'm sorry, go ahead, Counsel.
Just one thing, do you know when that building blocks program is going to be up and running? I just don't want the chief to wait on that, or his meeting to wait on that, if it's going to be longer than.
So currently, right now, we're in the process of going after some properties through the building blocks program. Nothing to do with this situation, and it's a completely different situation the buildings we're looking into. But that program is out there. I'm aware of it. I haven't, since I've been in charge of the department, things have slowed down considerably on nuisance properties, to the magnitude that we were experiencing. That we haven't, there's none that I'm aware of, from what Councilor Condine is referring to. I haven't heard of any of those. That was a different situation. Now, this, I think there is a house over there that could have been categorized this, but they're all gone. All those residents are gone. It's a new building owner. And I haven't heard of any complaints to that one.
Okay.
And it's not abutting her, but it's one of these houses you're referring to.
Okay. I just don't want the chief.
Counselor, just to your point, I'm not going to wait. Before we started the meeting, I told Mrs. Castellano I'd like to get together, so I'm not going to wait for any building blocks. I'm going to chair a meeting, if you will, and see if we can get to the bottom of this. And I suggested Bishop E, just because it's close proximity, it's a place to meet.
Will you let the clerk know when you're going to meet, so she can let us know?
I'm going to have a discussion with Mrs. Castellano this week, and as soon as we can,
Okay. Just let us know. when it
I'll
is.
make sure the council knows when that meeting's going to happen.
Thank you. I yield.
Okay. Would it be maybe pertinent to recommend that we let these meetings take place, listen to the administration, and then maybe come and revisit this
Let's do a motion to table.
issue? Motion to table?
Second.
Second?
All in favor?
Everybody in agreement?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So we're going to table this issue. We will revisit it after the meetings. And in the meantime, I do urge Ms. Castellano, if you do have any further issues, again, I'll parrot what the chief said. Call. Don't hesitate. We don't care if it's 5 times a day. Call. That, what else? Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Hathaway. I know we're getting short on time. Number 4 was a resolution that was filed by Councilor Linda Pereira in regards to safety concerns at Wilson Road. Ms. Pereira, I don't know if,
Those issues have been addressed. I did call the chief because I continue to get calls from people on Wilson Road, and I spoke to the chief, and I spoke to Mrs. Ferrera, and also Carl Hexler. That's been resolved. The next item on the agenda has not.
okay.
But that one has. Thank you.
Motion to grant leave to withdraw.
Second.
Motion to grant leave to withdraw. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Leave to withdraw passes. Next on the agenda was North Main and Weaver Street. Ms. Ferrera, do you mind coming down to the mic?
I filed that resolution as well, and there are two people in the audience here, Miss Camara and Mr. Riley, who know that area well and could probably shed more light.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I just quickly speak on this matter? Council Pereira did file the resolution. I was going to file a similar resolution. Mr. Riley, who's in the audience, had a family member who was hit outside there.
Yes.
I think we all know what the issue is. It's the concern of the speed that's going there. Also, parking has also become another issue with no parking allowed on Weaver Street, and you've got multifamily houses there that are not allowed to now park on, have off-street parking. So there's multiple concerns there. Just looking to figure out, at least from my standpoint, I'm sure Councilor Pereira's standpoint, what's the suggested or recommendation for an action plan there? Is it a traffic light? Is it stop signs? Have we done any type of studies in terms of trying to put up traffic signals there?
No, we haven't done any traffic studies. The chief and I just spoke a few minutes ago, and we will be doing that. Now, the item that I've been involved with, there's been two issues there. There's the exit that comes out onto North Main, and that's been a complaint with speeding. There's still a stop sign there. Even though that's state property, we did move the stop sign a little bit closer so that when you make that bend, you do see the stop sign. You're supposed to stop, and then you go. But North Main is a busy street, so you have that issue there.
Has Mass DOT evaluated that? Well,
No.
when's the last time they evaluated it? Was there?
I have no idea. I know Representative Cara Fiola was involved with that. She's the one that had asked me if I could take a look at the stop sign and see if I could move it, and we did do that.
Could we
Has it helped? I mean, I don't know.
I know we're going to be talking about probably the lowering of 79. We've got the train coming in. Is it possible to reach out to District 5 and see if they have anything on the tip for that off-ramp there to make any improvements, if there's any traffic signals? If not, if there's anything that we can do to kind of collaborate between the state and the city to get a actual true engineering study in terms of what would be required over there, because you've got a couple of different factors, as you had mentioned. You've got the exits and the on-ramps and the off-ramps for the highway.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the folks that are coming from 24, especially if you're coming from the north, heading south, traveling at a high speed, going into a congested area. All of a sudden, like it's not really all that congested at a certain point, and then you're back into a very congested area with a lot of off-street parking on Main Street. And
I can say that I've been there 3 times. I was there twice before the unfortunate incident to Mr. Riley's family. The second time I was there, I witnessed an accident while I was there. The first time I went to speak to a resident that lives on the corner that sent me an email. The second time I went there was due to another complaint, and that's when a car came off 79 heading south onto North Main. There was a school bus stopped letting off children, and there was traffic backed up behind it. The vehicle came off 79 without yielding and rear-ended the car right in front. I was standing on the corner when it happened. The unfortunate incident to Mr. Riley's family and his wife, I think this definitely needs to be looked at. That was a very significant incident. Is it possible to do a traffic study there and then get a...
Well, since I'm going to contact District 5, I'm also going to find out when I'm assuming that they must have done a traffic study, especially with the detours that they have now, because they are repaving and resurfacing parts of 24. So there's a lot of detours going towards North Main. So I know that they've done, once they do a detour, they have to do a traffic study. So I'm gonna find out when the last time was and see if we can get a copy of it. And then we'll talk to them about, because it's two different locations, so we need to look at the two different locations separately. Whether it's set of lights when you're coming off of 79, or doing something with the Weaver intersection. I think the biggest problem is, part of North Main at Weaver is very narrow, and you have parking on both sides, people parking close to the corner. So when you have a lot of traffic, you can barely make it on that section. You have no crosswalks going across because there's no handicap ramps, and you kind of have to be careful. So it does become congestion in the morning and in the afternoons. And you do have activity with people walking around that area. The only thing that we did to Weaver, we put the no parking here to corner, and the no parking signs on the overpass, which eliminates, a little bit of the parking.
So can I ask a question with regards to the crosswalks out there? So the reason there's not one at that location is because we don't have the ADA handicapped accessibility.
Right. You have it going across the exits from 79, and you have it going across Weaver, but you don't have it going
Going north.
across North Main because it's not handicap accessible.
So is that something we can do internally, with a quick portion of the sidewalk to actually get it ADA?
We would have to have it ADA compliance, with the width of it and the colored map with the bumps
Right.
for
Yep.
blind people that has to be installed as well.
So can I make a recommendation to the chair that, as Ms. Ferrera does contact District 5 to see what type of studies are there, if there's anything that's going to be put on a tip for any type of improvements with regards to 79, but that she also work with DPW to see if we can get a crosswalk across North Main with the ADA requirements that are obviously going to be required for that crosswalk.
Absolutely. Do you mind letting me know?
Sure.
And
Definitely.
sending an email out to the council as well?
With that, I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anything further from?
I would suggest that we table this and bring it up again after Mrs. Ferrera looks into it.
I agree.
Motion to table?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, Mrs. Ferrer. Next item on the agenda, number 6, resolution to discuss proactive strategies and policies regarding racial inequalities and a call to end violence, adopted 6/9/2020. This resolution was brought forward by Council Lee. And I'll read it. Whereas citizens in the city of Fall River have expressed concerns with the current events regarding racial inequalities, protesting, accountability, and calls to end violence, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council Committee on Public Safety convene with a representative of the Board of Police and the Police Chief to discuss proactive strategies and policies to address these concerns. Mr. Lee, if you want to come down and...
So there's a couple of things regarding that resolution since I wrote it. I did have a conversation recently with the mayor, and I believe there's going to be some changes made as far as the police board goes. So I know they're not able to have a representative here. And I really think that was mostly just to find out what their role was, because it hasn't really been a very active board over the years. But regarding the rest of it, I've had multiple conversations with the chief about these things. I've even had some conversations with Mr. Dion regarding the funding, possible funding of police cameras. And I know that some other things we can't talk about because I know that they're regarding union contracts, negotiations, things like that. However, I think this is a good opportunity just to get a rundown from some of the things that the chief and I have talked about, and so the public can know on record what is being done. I know that we're a few months away from all those events that happened with Mr. George Floyd and things of that nature. However, the next one, unfortunately, can happen anytime and around the corner. And Fall River, fortunately, has been out of the spotlight when it comes to that specific topic, but that can happen at any time here as well. And I think this is a productive opportunity to have what the resolution says, proactive strategies that we can have in place so we can try to either mitigate or avoid any of these kind of situations from occurring.
I completely agree with you. To my understanding, I see Mr. Bailey in the audience.
Yep.
Was there a committee put together or a group where,
I can allow Mr. Bailey if he wants to
Absolutely.
converse on that. But the mayor did put together a board, and I believe Mr. Bailey's either the chair or the co-chair of that board. He can explain that. I've been to a handful of the meetings. I've been to the Zoom meetings, and they're working on some things. So, okay.
and you feel that that would go hand in hand, obviously, with your,
Yeah, one of the things that I mentioned to the board when they were meeting was that there should be a mission statement. There should be a very clear message to the public as to what the board is about. I think sometimes when certain parts of the public hear the term diversity or diversity boards, they feel like there's a level of tokenism or, sort of an eye-rolling moment for some people. But I think that every single board has an opportunity to do something positive, and this one does as well. It's just a matter of what the effort is and what the mission is.
agreed. Mr. Bailey, if you'd like to come down and speak. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Bobby Bailey, 1082 Duval Street.
Welcome back to the city, by the way.
Thank you. So we actually, the committee we just devised, we actually just started putting things together, just completing the mission statement, and within the committee, we're just looking to create channels of communication. So we kind of collectively talked about, getting people together within the city, people from all parts of the city. And with it being diverse, we want to hear everyone. So we want to create some solutions to go on. I've been talking to Chief Cardoza, obviously Trot, and a few other people, and just putting things together and just trying to get some resolution in the city and kind of figure out some of the issues that we have here, hear from the people, and then attack the issues at hand, and also see what people want and need. So, we're in the beginning stages of things. I'm not really a chair. We kind of want to put everyone's voice on the front line and figure it out. We haven't talked about the size of it or anything of that nature, but like I said, we're in the beginning stages and seeing how things are going.
Okay. Is it possible, while this is going on and these discussions are being had, to also advise not just the Public Safety Committee on how it's working out, because it's definitely a great idea, but to also address the council with whatever you have going on, and I know council.
Same capacity that me and Councilor Pamela LeBeau, we're liaisons for the Veterans Service, so I have no problem acting as a liaison for this board to the City Council and to the Safety Board. I think that would, Public Safety Committee, I think that would be helpful and useful. As they formulate what they're doing, I have no problem being a liaison in between.
Excellent. I think it's a great idea to keep the open communication and have a direct link. Is there anything from Colin?
I just have 2 questions. When do they meet?
So we've had a few meetings, strictly just setting up the mission statement. Before we kind of want to roll things out, we want to make sure we have a clear mission statement, everyone's on the same page, and then talk about the process. So we're still talking about a lot of things. There's a lot of things in works. So yeah.
But you don't have like a certain day of the month or a schedule of meetings?
As of right now, no, there's
Not
no
yet?
scheduled meetings.
Okay. And Councilor Lee, would you like us to table this in committee for now?
I know that we're pressed for time, but I think it would be important for the chief to speak about some of the progresses that he's come along with as far as some of the things that we've talked about on this topic.
Yeah.
And then after that, I have no problem with the table.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Thanks.
Please, Chief. Welcome back.
So one of the things that we've been putting together, and COVID is preventing us from actually putting it into place, if you will, is a recruitment unit, where I'm going to have a group of officers that are going to go around to the colleges and the high schools. And this recruitment unit, if you will be comprised of, some diverse backgrounds. So those are one of the things. I've been in contact with the civil service. We're a civil service agency, for better or for good. But I asked about getting a diversity list, and I was told that you can do that. However, In the email, the way they put it was that we would have to admit some type of a liability, that we've been remiss in making our organization more diverse, and that was something that we should think long and hard about doing, so.
And not to interrupt, that falls under Part 10, am I correct? Where there's a list that calls for a specific group?
Yep, so I'll just read you a portion of the email. It says, "There is a way, Chief, to request a diversified list. However, it requires that you indicate that you have not been practicing diversity in the past, which is more or less incriminating. If you would like to plan a time to discuss, let me know." So I have some concerns about that. Obviously, I'll discuss that with Corporation Counsel, but that was in the works. That was something that I was interested in doing as well. I've had some conversations with the administration about getting a cadet program like New Bedford has, where I could pick and choose some people to come in. Once, obviously, I have diversity in mind when I speak about the cadet program, and once they're part of the organization, all they have to do is pass the exam, and they can become, they can go to the police academy. Krista McCluskey and I have talked about starting up some youth dialogue again, like we used to have years ago. I think it was under Chief Racine. I'm going to participate in that and finding some officers to get involved in that at the high school and the middle school schools as well. Bobby and I talked about some roundtables. And the other thing that I've been doing, and I know Council Lee can comment on it if he wants to, but I've been having some meetings with the UIA people and the NAAC people. I had a meeting the other day that was a couple hours long. It was a difficult meeting, but it was 200 people, but I'm glad that I participated. So we're being as transparent as we can. I'd like to see us be more diverse. There are some things that I think can help. I think this is going to be a marathon, not a sprint.
Okay, I appreciate that, Chief. I think it's obviously a great topic that we need to address, and I thank Council Lee for filing the resolution. Do we have, I know you said you wanted to motion to,
If everyone's done speaking.
I'm sorry, was that everything?
I'm done. It's done. Sorry.
I'm good.
Motion to table.
Motion to table?
So moved. Second, I'm sorry.
Everyone in favor? Passes. We'll visit this at a later date. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.